ADK, first meeting of the 2019-2020 season. Welcome everybody. My name is Bill Lindenfelser. I'm standing in for Luke Nelson, our chair, who couldn't be here tonight. Just wanted to see how many folks here are new, maybe visitors, for example. And do you mind just raising your hands, maybe new members, visitors, and the like? Okay, wow, that's actually quite a few folks. If maybe some GVC members could just greet them and let them know that they're welcome, I'd sure appreciate that. Thank you for coming. We have, as usual, a program tonight. But before we get to that, there are a couple of things that we'd like to talk about. First of all, and you've probably heard this before, we have openings. We need people to help out with the work of the chapter. This is an ongoing kind of need that we've got, but at this particular time, we have a number of key positions that we are in need of filling. You've probably seen some of the ads in the Geneseo, but I'd just like to bring these up and talk about them just a little bit. As you've seen in the Geneseo, we have a need for a vice chair. Now, normally vice chair sounds like being vice president of the United States, or, who wants to be vice president of the United States? Everybody wants to be the president, not the vice president. Vice chair, however, is the kind of position, though, that leads towards becoming the chair. Okay? That's the way our chapter usually works. It gives somebody an opportunity to learn the ropes, understand a little bit about what is going on in the chapter, give them some ideas about what kinds of things they might like to do when they become chair in order to improve the chapter. And so we really are looking for somebody here who is interested in that kind of a leadership position. And though you yourself may not be the kind of person who wants to do something like that, maybe you know somebody who would be interested in doing something like that. And we'd sure appreciate it if you'd be willing to talk that up with people that you know. We could really, really use somebody like this. We're going to be coming up to the election of officers for 2020 in December, and we really would like to be able to fill that position of vice chair by that election. So please consider that. Please talk it up amongst people you know who might be interested. We have a few other open positions, however. Our spectacular programs chair is going to be stepping down, and we would really like to have somebody take over that important position of putting on these monthly programs that we've got. It doesn't mean doing it yourself by any means. It means basically organizing a committee of people who do this. We've had some really, really great programs over the past several years. We'd like to continue that tradition, make sure it keeps happening. Fairly soon we're going to need a new treasurer. We'd really like to have somebody who's willing to be mentored by our current treasurer, Sue Davis, and be ready to start serving in that position. So if you have a thing for numbers, maybe you're a CPA, just need a second job or something, we'd be happy to hear from you. Beyond that, it turns out we need a new trails chair. If you're interested or participating in the hikes and you'd be willing to help us organize them, we could sure use somebody there. And finally, a position that's been open for about as long as I can remember, we really need a publicity chair. Publicity chair is really somebody in 2019, 2020, and this time, that's more than just placing ads in newspapers and that sort of thing, but somebody who's got a little bit of media savvy and is willing to apply that to the various media that we've got. Right now we've got a fairly rich collection of media, and frankly, none of us are experts on how to coordinate it. So if you have some expertise in that area, or again know of somebody who's got some expertise in that area, we really would appreciate hearing about that. And finally, when it comes to all these open positions, one thing I really want to stress and remind everybody about is that this is an organization that runs on volunteer labor. when we don't have somebody to take care of something, that thing doesn't happen. Okay, so we really appreciate you thinking about this and stepping forward. There's a rather small group of people who make most of what happens in GVC happen, okay? I'd really like to see that broaden a bit and get some new faces in. Okay, enough of that public service announcement. Finally, I was going to ask, has anybody looked at the website recently, say since June, for example? How's it working out for people? Good? All right? All right, good. You may have noticed that it is a new website, as a matter of fact, and a very, very generous individual, a man by the name of Jim Kane, who runs his own web design business called Simply Effective, donated that website to us. I mean, donated the whole thing. That was extraordinarily generous of him. And he did a wonderful job of it, and I think it shows in the way it looks and the way it works. Okay, I think I'm about done. I think we have a couple people. Beth, did you have something to say here?
I'll be quick. How many people went walking or hiking this summer? When you were walking or hiking, did you happen to notice if there were any ruts on the trail, soggy parts of the trail, weeds that may have been whacked, blazes that may have been retouched up? Does that come to mind for any of you? Or did any of you get lost because you missed a blaze anywhere? Yes? No? I was just hiking down in the Allegheny State Forest in Pennsylvania and was on a trail that they had given us as a map, and the trail disappeared. It was like no markings, no nothing, no indication. So everywhere I walked this summer, I was paying attention to other methods of trenching, blazing, clearing, marking, and so on, because, ta-da, I am the steward representing Adirondack Club, GVC, for 8 miles of trail for the Finger Lakes. So I get to recruit people like you to help me maintain those 8 miles. So I do a walkthrough ahead of time. I always like to have other people walk with me while I assess the trail. And then we have 3 work scheduled maintenance crew days. 1 in April, 1 in July, and the last one coming up for this year is October 5th. You can contact me through the website under Steward on the mailing list. I put my name, my phone number, my personal email at the top, and I'm going old-fashioned clipboard besides. I have some people who have already indicated they would like to participate in the pre-hike and the trail maintenance day, which is a Saturday in October. But I'm going to pass the clipboard around, and I will be sitting in the back, and unfortunately this meeting conflicts with the fringe, and I'll be leaving around 8 because I'm kind of into the arts too, so forgive me. But if you would like to sign up and help, the requirements are being able to walk, maybe paint some blazes, pick up some sticks, anything heavy requiring heavy chainsaws or deep digging and trenching is actually farmed out to a trained crew called an alley cat crew, excuse me. So they do a lot of the really, really heavy lifting. But we need people like you and I just to keep these trails walkable. So think back to what you did this summer and that somebody was out there preparing that just for you. Any questions? I'm going to pass this around and I hope to hear from you. And if you can help me with one event, that's cool. Doesn't have to be this next one. Life happens, I get it. But the more the merrier. So I'll start over here. Thank you.
By the way, I forgot to mention that one other really tremendous benefit of volunteering in any capacity in Genesee Valley Chapter is you get to come to a great picnic, okay? And that's coming up on October 27th. There's information about it on the web, and will be in the October Genesee. Charlie Hellman, Waterways.
So it's still paddling season. Our Monday group is doing wonderful paddles just about every Monday morning. We still are we just posted last night, I think, 3 or 4 paddles for Saturdays. So come join us. Thanks.
Thanks, Charlie. And finally, Mr. Jackson Thomas.
Hello, everybody. Oh, you're in good voice for being out of practice over the summer. Thank you. Thank you for that warm greeting. Before I get into the bookstore, I have a public service announcement from the Burroughs Audubon Nature Club. Anyone familiar with that group locally? People, great. Their headquarters are in Powder Mills Park, and they are having a habitat restoration day in their section of Powder Mills Park on Sunday, October 6th from 1 to 5 p.m. And they're seeking volunteers who would love to get into the rough alongside the trails, next to the trails, to remove privet and other invasive species. So if you might be interested in that, there are 2 flyers out front, and I have a couple of flyers here over at the bookstore. So how many of you have a trail map of the high peaks? I don't care how old it is. A lot of you. Great. Well, for all of you who have a map of the trails and the high peaks, headquarters has recently published a new version of that map, and it's even prettier looking than the predecessor. I'm not sure exactly how much of a change there is since I haven't studied it in detail, but it's still selling for the same price of $9 your cost as a member. How many of you are engaged in the Fire Tower Challenge? Wow, great. Well, for those of you who are not and who've never heard of it and would be interested in climbing some lesser peaks in the Adirondacks and 5 more in the Catskills, the Glens Falls Saratoga chapter of ADK has created a Fire Tower Challenge in which if you climb at least 23 of those fire towers, at least 18 in the Adirondacks and all 5 in the Catskills, you will qualify for a number comparable to a 46 number. You will qualify for a special patch and a certificate. And if you don't care for any of those little frills, you just want the enjoyment of getting out there and climbing your little heart out, well, you can do that too. At any rate, this is a book published by Jack Freeman, one of our venerable statesmen in ADK, and it's a wonderful guide to the fire towers in case you're thinking about climbing any of them, whether you're meeting the challenge or not. And lastly, ADK's latest publication by, believe it or not, Carl Heilman. So as soon as you hear the name of Carl Heilman, you know that this will be a photographic tour de force. So if you're interested in this, the retail price is $45, but obviously yours is less with your club discount. So if you have any other inquiries about merchandise at the bookstore, see me after the program, please. Thanks very much, everybody. Before I quit, calendars. Thank you, Jack, thank you for mentioning that magic word. I have no calendars yet. But I hope to have calendars next month. Thank you for reminding me about that. several years. Okay. Angelica has chosen a blue High Peaks map band. Thanks, everybody.
And finally, Jill Nichols.
I happen to be kind of following Jackson because I am advertising